Okay, here we are again with another amp recommendation to use with our headphones. This one is the 11 Audio Broadway. I've been using the Broadway S at home for a pretty good while now, like
a year?
Close to a year, yeah,
Yep.
something like that. We've had this one at the office, we've all had a chance to mess with it, and we have some things to say about it, so let's get into it.
Let's talk about the build.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty small form factor, which is nice. It's easy to fit on your desk, and it's actually somewhat transportable. So it's battery powered, but it's a desktop amp. So
Right.
the battery is used in part of the circuit as effectively power supply filtering, which is actually pretty cool, but it also allows it to run without power mobily for a few hours.
Over 4 hours, actually. I think it's rated for up to 6, but it depends on the kind of headphones you're putting on there. Some things that are really efficient, your low volume, that makes sense. Our headphones take a little bit more juice, so 4 hours is kind of realistic.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to note with that the fact that this is battery powered doesn't mean people should exclude this as a desktop amp, because I've only used it as a desktop amp. And I'm pretty happy with it in that scenario. I mean, the batteries, like you said, do offer power filtering, and it has a crazy signal-to-noise ratio.
Yeah, that's the idea. It's effectively designed as a desktop amplifier. The batteries are just kind of in there as part of the power supply, but it also does enable that to
Right.
run without power connected if you want to. And it's a machined aluminum chassis. It's got a pretty nice volume knob, good feel to it. It starts at 11, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, some Spinal
Starts at
Tap
an
there.
unusual position.
I always thought that was a Spinal Tap reference, and then I found out that it wasn't.
It
They just
doesn't
wanted
go
it to start at
to
11.
It starts
yeah.
at 11.
Starts.
Mhm.
Yeah, very strange. But it's pretty cool. Pretty nice looking chassis. So this is actually a anodized aluminum finish, and it's a really nice job on it. Very consistent color, nice general appearance to it. And this has laser etched logos, which is pretty cool because these are gray, not
I actually
the typical
didn't know
white
that.
you would see. So the front faceplate is laser etched, really durable, no silk screen to rubber buff off. And it's a very unusual process to allow it to be that gray color, so it's
Yeah.
blended in a little bit more than the typical white you would see from laser engraved anodized aluminum.
Yeah, it doesn't pick up fingerprints too well, which is kind of nice.
Yep.
Well, yeah, as for inputs and outputs, it's fully balanced, so it only accepts XLR input, and fully balanced only output with a 4.4 millimeter Pentagon and the 4-pin XLR. And then it's just a volume control. So very simple.
Yeah. Yeah, a little power switch here is on the back. It's one of those ones you like toggle it. You toggle it
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
toggle it down, and it goes back to neutral.
Yep.
Yep.
So, and we're running an external power supply on this thing, so DC in on the back of it.
Right.
It has gain options as well.
Yeah, there's
switches on the
some
bottom.
switches, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, those little pop switches.
Yep. Little toggle switches.
Okay, so sound-wise, because that's what everybody usually cares about with a headphone amplifier, especially a desktop headphone amp. Sure, the battery thing is cool. The low noise is really cool. But the thing that makes this special to me is that it is a balanced, pure Class A amp.
Yeah.
I'm a Class A fanboy. I like that. So the one I've been using at home, I don't know, if anybody watching this, you probably have heard a Class A amp at some point if you're into audio. And there's something about the sound of Class A that's just like really, really pleasant.
Well, this is DC coupled Class A too.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So it's got some juice. And I believe you said it was 1.5 watts at 32.
Right.
Yep.
It's interesting when you compare it too, because you think like, oh, 1.5 watts this versus 1.5 watts there. The different amplifier topologies really seem to change what that 1.5 watts really means.
Sometimes, yeah.
For sure.
Like I know that on some cheaper amps, 300 watts Class D is not the same at all as 300 watts Class A.
300 watts Class A would be,
That would power just about anything.
that's a lot.
Yeah.
This has a very powerful sound to it.
Yeah.
You would have to have some real crazy headphones to have an issue with power, because our headphones are pretty demanding. It drives them wonderfully.
Yeah.
So everybody else has their own little different ratings and different levels of optimism for the power ratings, but this is a very powerful desktop class amplifier.
Well, and because it's DC coupled, it means it's very good at low frequencies. It's got a lot of impact.
Yeah. Yeah, it does
And
have a lot of impact.
That's the first thing you notice about it. It doesn't sound like a portable amp. It sounds
It has
desktop
a very
class.
rich desktop sound for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely does. Very, very well extended low end. It's like kind of effortless reaching down to the depths it hits.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I feel like a good pure Class A topology, it helps with the low end being DC coupled, like you said, but also I feel like the pure Class A amps like this do something special in the highs. it's almost like highs are still present there, but they're very fast and not ever harsh, if that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Kind of like the effect that we got when listening to the GSX Mini, kind of that same thing that the schematic of the GSX Mini does.
Yeah.
Class A amps tend to do something very similar to that, but with this really powerful low end.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Yeah, the highs are similar to the GSX Mini, but this actually has more impact than the GSX Mini.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the way this thing controls the bass, it's pretty obvious it has a very low output impedance. They don't actually specifically rate it, but it's clearly in the upper tier of performance in that category.
Yeah. Yeah, you can really tell when an amp is controlling a headphone really well when you get that really, really fast decay.
Yeah.
But not in like a sharp way. You can tell there's not like major problems with overshoot or anything like that just by
No.
listening to it.
This thing's impressively smooth while being very fast, and that's very unusual.
Yeah, and especially for its size.
And with how black the background is, because
Yeah.
it's battery powered, it's just stops, then it's dead silence. And
Yeah.
It's very nice.
Yeah, there have been times where like I'll have it turned up and turned on with no music playing, and you don't hear anything, no hiss, no nothing. It's just
Yeah.
like, is this thing plugged in?
Yeah. You got to check.
I guess it doesn't matter if it's plugged in because it's got batteries.
Yeah, that is also good. It has come in handy a few
Yeah.
times.
Anytime though that I've had like, because I've got a variety of amps on my desk.
Mhm.
Anytime that I've had like hearing the router or my phone or just something picking up noise in the system, it's
Mhm.
like, all right, I'm gonna swap into the Broadway. And
Right.
It's just gone.
That's true.
It's surprising. This thing has no discernible sound difference, plugged in or not.
Yeah.
It does a really great job. So the power supply circuit, it certainly seems to work. You don't hear any noise, and it's got a really black background.
Yeah.
You can unplug it, continue running full power for hours. One interesting thing to note with this is it uses totally standard 18650 batteries that are user replaceable. So a lot of people aren't familiar with these, but they're the most common lithium battery in the world. Very easy to come by. And oddly enough, it could actually change the sound a little bit depending on what battery you have installed.
And that makes sense because you said that all the power that's going into the amp is being filtered through the batteries.
Yep.
So it is an integrated part of the circuit.
Pretty much like rolling tubes, but solid state.
Yeah, yeah, rolling batteries. That's kind of a first, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know of anything else that does that. So, yeah,
Somewhere on a forum, there's people talking about rolling batteries.
maybe.
I gotta find that. I haven't tried that yet, but I kind of want to now.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to do.
Just
You
do
get
that
a
over the
few different
weekend.
batteries.
Yeah. So, all things considered, I mean, it's obvious we like this amp.
Yes.
That's why I'm recommending it. But who specifically is this amp for?
Diana Phi owners.
So this
Yeah,
was
I agree with
actually
that.
tuned with Diana Phi. It works exceptionally well with Diana. It'll work on 1266 just fine, but I think for the most part our customers there will look for a full-size, high-end, super-duper dump truck desktop reference class solution.
Yeah. So this amp being specifically designed to work with Diana is kind of interesting. It's like you have the whiskey maker and the cigar maker kind of came together and worked on something perfectly to pair with one another.
I guess. Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
There are amplifiers out there that are higher end. They're more expensive than this. But the fact that it was designed and tuned specifically to work with Diana makes it a pretty dang good pairing.
Yeah, for me, this with Diana Phi, it's a wonderful pairing. And this is one of my preferred amplifiers for Diana Phi.
And we should mention that there is an S version of the Broadway that's the same thing, but it's a single-ended version. It has
Right.
half the power. So if you, for like less demanding headphones or IEMs, that you don't need as much power, it runs on the same 18650s, four of them, just half the power.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the other one still has surprisingly good low end, still
Yeah.
has a lot of the same sound characteristics. Diana and Dyna V2 definitely benefit from the more power you get out of the output on
Oh,
this
yeah.
thing, for sure.
Oh, and the other difference is that's not since it's single-ended, it's only RCA's that too.
Right, the Broadway S is only
Yeah.
RCA, whereas the Broadway is full
Full
XLR.
balanced,
Yeah, yeah.
One interesting thing with this amp is if you wanted to travel with your whole headphone setup and you want to bring a desktop class sound with you, this is a really wonderful option, probably one of the best in the market, because you could bring a DAP with you and you could plug your DAP into this.
Oh, right, we've got some right here.
Yeah, and it'll give that guy
Yeah.
a high-end desktop class amplification, but in a fairly small form factor that you could bring with you.
Yeah, because, I mean, there are some pretty dang good sounding DAPs out there.
Yes.
But not every DAP has the juice to really push a headphone to the same experience that you're going to get at home.
Yeah, this is definitely a notch above.
And it's not so huge you're going to be like carrying like, a WAH 33 on your back.
Yeah.
I mean, you could.
I mean, you could.
I don't know if, do they let you, did you take that on an airplane?
They might be suspicious.
Yeah.
It's sizable.
That'd be able to run that thing through the x-ray machine. What is that?
Yeah, you need separate luggage for it.
Be a bit
Pack
heavy
the
too.
tubes all separately.
It'd probably exceed the weight limits.
Oh yeah, it would.
Just a little bit.
It would. It's like
Yeah.
60 pounds. Like
I haven't tried flying with one.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah. This is why we usually mail things to shows instead of carrying it on the plane with us.
Yeah,
Yeah. Imagine if you did that. You mail your equipment to your hotel room.
you could.
Some baller out there has
Yeah.
done that.
Well, it's essentially like MKBHD mailing his iMac Pro.
Oh, right. Yeah, editing in hotel rooms on that giant
That's
computer.
bringing WA33 to your hotel room.
Perfect.
But this is for the more sane option.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a practical,
Yeah.
It makes
impractical
sense.
setup.
So, final thoughts on this thing. I think it's a pretty dang cool amp. Obviously, I'm using one myself, so I enjoy it. Like I said, it's a Class A amplifier, fully balanced. You get that Class A sound. So, really fast highs, really good decay, really, really solid low end. And if you want, you can take it with you on the go.
It is one of my favorite amps, regardless of price.
Yeah.
For Dynafy, yeah.
Yeah, for V2 and Phi, this thing has a wonderful sonic character.
All right, so I guess that's about it for this one. If you want to check this amp out, it'll be available at the link in the video description. But as always, please like this video if you want to see more reviews like this one and us talking about the amps we recommend and use on a regular basis. Leave a comment if you have any other amps that you know of you want to hear us talk about, and we'll see you in the next one.